Hey, what's up everybody? This is Pat Ogletree with Salt Strong, and in this video what I want to do is I want to show you how to retrieve an artificial shrimp. And this is what I got right here. I'm going to do this today. Now these techniques that I'm going to show you will actually work with any kind of rigging. Right now, because I'm fishing some grassy areas that's got some oyster beds, I've got it on a Haas Helix hook, which will do a really good job of keeping the shrimp from hanging up on all this stuff. But these techniques that I'm going to show you today will also work with an open jig head. Now the first thing that I'm going to do is show you the type of retrieve that I'm going to do. That's going to be most of the time. It's going to be a time where I'm trying to dial in the fish, figure out where they are feeding, where they're staged at on the points, if they're off the points, if they're on the points. So it's kind of my search mode right here, which is most of the time with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cast it straight on out. And then I'm going to let it sink to the bottom. I want it to touch the bottom because the type of fish that we're after, flounder, redfish, they're going to be bottom feeders. So after it sinks to the bottom, I'm going to close my bail. So what I'm going to do is I am going to give it a couple of twitches just like this. And the reason why I'm going to do that is it's going to imitate that shrimp. But also what I'm going to do is when I get to the top of my twitches, I'm going to keep my rod tip high, and I'm going to keep my line having what they call a semi-slack. It's not going to be taut because we're dealing with a lightweight. But what that's going to do is that is going to allow the bait, the shrimp, to actually glide forward instead of just falling straight down to the bottom. I'll have that extra glide so you can cover a little bit more ground a little bit quicker that way. And just a couple little pops. Let it sink to the bottom, reel in your slack, couple little pops, let it sink to the bottom, then reel in your slack. And you can repeat that all the way back to the boat. Now, the severity or the intensity of these pops and the length of the pauses are going to be dependent on the mood of the fish. If the fish are not in a very good feeding mood, if they're just kind of laid up and they're in a kind of a neutral mood, I'm going to make less aggressive pops, and then I'm going to have longer pauses in between the two. Now, if they're actively feeding and I'm really trying to cover some ground, then I'm actually going to give it some pops like this, and then give it just enough time to sink to the bottom depending on the water depth that I'm fishing at. So I will pick up the pace, and then I'll make the adjustment from there depending on what the fish are telling me and what they want. So that's most of the time how I'm going to fish an artificial shrimp, how I'm going to retrieve an artificial shrimp. So another thing that I want to show you, another retrieve, my second retrieve that I want to show you, is going to be if I see a tailing fish or if I see a fish cruising a shoreline and I'm wanting to intercept that fish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw the lure out, and I'm going to put it just out on the farther side of the fish. So if the fish is moving along this way, I'm going to place my cast right over here behind the fish and in front of the fish. So as I'm working my lure, the fish is going to intercept it. That's the goal of that. You don't want to put it directly in front of them, because if you put it right in front of their their eyesight, it might spook them a little bit. So you want to go behind, and then you'll drag the lure in front. And that's exactly what I'm going to do when I'm fishing for sight casting fish. When I physically see the fish, I'm actually just going to slowly drag the lure. I'm just going to drag it just like this, just at a slow speed, and then I'll stop it. Then I'll pick it up, and then I'll drag it just a little bit more, and then I'll stop it. The idea of that is you want the fish to find the lure. You don't want to necessarily bring the lure to the fish, because that's not a natural presentation for shrimp. Shrimp don't dive at their predators. They're not going to dive at the things that are going to eat them. But if they're just dragging right on the bottom or crawling right on the bottom, it might appear as if they're not aware that that fish is around. So that's why we want to drag it right along the bottom and kill it. And then hopefully, if the timing works out with the speed of the fish and where the shrimp is, you'll be right in front of the fish, maybe 2 or 3 feet in front of the fish right as it crosses its path. So that's what I do when I'm fishing for sight casted to fish. Now the last one that I'm going to show, the last type of retrieve that I'm going to show, is going to be when I'm looking for specifically flounder. I have a little different retrieve that I'm doing when I'm looking for flounder. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take and point my rod at the lure, and then I'm going to pull it just a little bit, give it probably about 12-18 inches, reel in that slack, pull it about 12-18 inches, then reel in the slack, and I just keep on doing that. If you freshwater fishermen are familiar with it, it's kind of like working a Carolina rig. But basically what I'm trying to do, the idea is to keep that lure in contact with the bottom. Flounder are specifically, they're bottom feeders. They will come up a little bit and catch their prey, but if you can keep it on the bottom and keep it right in their face, that's going to increase your opportunity of catching those fish. The easier you make it for them, the more likely they are to hit it. So that's actually the three methods that I use. And when it comes to the equipment, what equipment that I'm going to use, this is a typical setup that I have. And what I've got is a Daiwa BGMQ 2500, and I've got that spooled with 10-pound braid, and then I have got 20-pound leader on there. Now, I've been experimenting a little bit, going back to fluorocarbon. This is a fluorocarbon leader, but mono will work just fine. And the rod that I'm going to use is going to be a 7/6 medium or a medium light that I'll use in this situation. This one is a medium, and the reason why I'm doing that is these are lighter lures, so it helps you with some casting distance when you have a medium light or a medium power rod. These are fast action, so they have a nice tip to them, so you can impart some good action in your shrimp. So when you're giving those pops, it's not a very forgiving rod like a parabolic action where it just kind of will just drag the lure. When it has that fast tip, it'll pop that shrimp off the bottom and it will give you more action. So definitely fast action, medium power, 7/6 is a great setup. That's pretty much a universal inshore setup. You don't have to do anything, buy any specific equipment to fish these artificial shrimp. So I hope this helps you out in any kind of way. And if you've got any questions, just put those down below and I'll try to answer those as soon as possible. And if you're looking for any of these lures, any of this equipment, we do have it available at fishstrong.com. Now, I am throwing the Power Prawn. This just happens to be the Power Prawn Junior in the Slam Shady color. I've got it rigged on a Haas Helix hook. Now, this technique will work with just basically any artificial shrimp that's out there, but I can tell you that these are very effective. You might want to do yourself a favor, go on to fishstrong.com and just look at the reviews that we have at the bottom. These things are they're catching so many fish for a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are catching more fish than they ever have, and better quantity and quality of fish than they ever have when they switch to these Power Prawns. It's definitely a cool setup. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we are the best online fishing club in America, where we guarantee that you'll catch more fish in less time, save money on all the inshore tackle that you need, and make friends fast, or it's free. For more information, go to saltstrong.com. And until then, we hope to see you in the insider community soon.